Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm MFA and today I will be doing my January wrap up. Finally, I'm done with reading my books for January and I can't wait to share my thoughts on these three amazing books. The Invisible Life of Adila Rue by V. Schwab. This story follows a girl called Adeline Lavie who was born in a small village in France around the 17th century, and she was a girl who had a big mind, who had big dreams, who had an open mind, who wanted to experience life outside the borders of her little village. So she was just unlucky that she was about to get into an arranged marriage, but she wanted to be free, and so she prayed to the gods and she got a response. But this god was like the bad one, so they reached a bargain, and in this bargain she would be forgotten by anyone she met until Henry, who works in a bookstore, meets her and remembers her. That was like a phenomenal part in this book. I just love this book so much. I love how the storyline played out. I like the uniqueness of the story. I like the dialogues, the emotions, the characters. Everything was just perfect. And not long ago, I literally swore I was never going to read any historical fiction because of that one bad experience I had. But reading this book got me rethinking my decision. The characters in this book were beautifully written and it was quite easy falling in love with them. Addie, Henry, and the Dark, aka Luke, made up the main characters in this book. Each character struck a nerve in my heart, which made me appreciate them in so many ways. Now, hold on. Did I foresee a love story brewing in this book? Hell no! But the love story between Henry and Addie was breathtaking. It was phenomenal. It was beautiful. It was expressive. I mean, V. Schwab just has a way of, I'm not going to talk like I've read any of her books prior to this. I couldn't stop thinking about Addie's cares and how I felt it was going to leave her a loner forever. But V. Schwab turned that bad experience into something worth keeping, something worth the trouble, something worth the sacrifice. Addie was a brave character. I do not think I'd ever allow someone who taunts me on a daily basis continue to do that if I had the power. I feel Addie did the best she could. She had to live with the only being who remembered her until Henry, and he was a bane in her life she just couldn't push away. I love how she stood her ground and how she evolved throughout the novel. When she came to the realization of Luke's plans all along, I just love how brave she was, how strong she was, how she stood her grounds and made it clear to Luke. She kind of became smart too, like she was playing the cards well, Luke's cards. She was like playing that card very well. The book cover's obsession got me doing my nails after 4 years, and my friend brought this obsession to life. The black, representing the book cover, has a black matte feel, and the golden design here, which represents the connected stars on the book cover. I think it's in gold too. Yeah, so I just got it done and it's beautiful. Anyways, Henry was another interesting character. I got really happy when she remembered Adi. I remember clapping and screaming and like saying, "Oh my gosh, like the darkness, like you failed. Did you see that coming?" No, you didn't. Only for me to realize that Henry remembering Adi was like another puzzle. I missed Henry loving Adi. He was also fighting his own demons, which broke my heart because Henry is like somehow a complicated person when it came to relationships with his family and with his friends, but he trying so hard to love Adi made me like him more. I remember I shed a tear when I realized that the darkness had a hold on Henry too. It just broke my heart so much. I usually do not cry when I'm reading books. I just try not to cry when I'm reading books. But this book just hit so many nerves, struck so many nerves, brought out so many emotions. The darkness is an enigma in this story. His role made me hate him so much. He was like the villain in this book. I just hated everything about him. But getting to the tail end of the book, I kind of started liking him, started understanding him. Long character, but in his dialogues with Adi, I just realized that he had like a soft spot for Adi, and some way somehow he was also a loner, and I felt he was like really happy when he realized that Adi was also a loner. So like that whole thing got me liking him, but I had to tune my mind like he's a bad guy. I just have to hate him. Let me just say, this book was amazing. This book was beautifully written. This book, what else can I say? I loved this book. I gave it a 5-star. I didn't think twice about it. I usually like think and think and think before rating any book, but this was like a straight 5-star. I was triggered to the core. Oh my god, this book by Tiffany D. Jackson, Grown, and it breaks my heart when women are praised for everything, but when they speak their truth. This book is heart-wrenching. Just talking about this again feels like I'm reading the book all over and like experiencing all the things I experienced all over. This book follows a 17-year-old girl called Enchanted who just wants to sing, wants to be a great singer, and everything seems to work out right for her until Corey Fields comes into the picture. He promises to help her become the star he is, as he's already a big artist. And just one day, Corey Fields ends up dead, and who is to blame but Enchanted Jones, as she's somehow mixed up in this whole death issue. This book talks about abuse of power, sexual abuse. It talks about rape. It talks about racism. And poor Enchanted Jones had to stomach all the injustices from society and from friends. Corey Fields was the adult in this book. Like when it comes to he and Enchanted Jones's relationship. Enchanted Jones was just a kid, and Corey Fields knew better. But he sexually abused her, he raped her, he blackmailed her, threatened her, physically abused her, like hit her. This man comes out to say this person, this big star did this to me. Usually they're not believed because they do not see these stars as people who can do wrong. So for Enchanted Jones, she went through hell and back to prove her innocence, to prove that it was Corey Fields who hurt her in so many ways. It was Corey Fields who was to blame for everything that was all the bad things that were happening in her life. And I got so sad when she somehow realized that someone close to Corey Fields was the murderer, and his friend somehow was caught up in it because it was someone related to his friend. And from the beginning, the friend looked like, or the way he spoke and all of that, it felt as if he wanted to help Enchanted Jones no matter what. He wanted to help her find the culprit of this heinous crime. But when it came to the point where Enchanted needed him most, he gave her up because whoever was responsible for that crime was his family. I just felt like, oh, he was going to have a change of mind and come to his senses and like talk to the police or something just to vindicate Enchanted, but no, he didn't. But at the end of the day, the nicest thing was at the end of the day, Enchanted Jones was vindicated. Corey Fields was indeed a bad person. Other girls who were also abused by Corey Fields came out and they voiced out their experiences, their displeasures, and people started to believe them. And also, one thing I realized was how people just assume someone is not their right age. Enchanted was 17 when she was raped by Corey Fields. And in the book, there was like a TV or a radio show somehow where they were discussing the whole issue, and one of the hosts said she doesn't look 17. Like, how does a 17-year-old look like? I don't know if anyone gets it. Like, this thing just pisses me off so much. Like, it's triggering, and I just love this book. I do love it, although, like, and I love that before the story started, there was a word, this book might trigger you, like it's triggering it. So if you are someone, I just felt, oh, I could just read it and not feel anything, but I realized I was wrong. This book struck a lot of emotions in me. So if you are someone who is likely to get triggered, just so you know, please don't read it. Reading this book, it took a lot of edge, a lot of effort to be able to complete this book, and it was a straight 5 stars. I loved this book with all my heart. I did. Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. I can't point out how I feel about this book because it still amazes me how people write beautifully. This book was inspirational, and the book is a novel in verse. It was written like a poem. So this book follows two girls who are related as sisters, Camino Rios and Yahaira Rios. These girls are separated by borders. They only realize each other after the passing of their dad in a plane crash. Camino lives in the Dominican Republic and Yahaira lives in New York, USA. This book touches on themes like cultural differences, grief, which is the major theme in the book, parenting, and family. Cultural differences. In the Dominican Republic, when reading it and comparing it to Ghana, I feel there were a few similarities. They are more closely knit. Kids there are very respectful. They obey their parents. Their parents have like the upper hand over the decisions of kids there. And in the US, where things are a bit liberal, where kids make their own decisions, an instance was when after the burial of their dad, they did two funerals. They did one in New York and then they did decided to leave the States without her mother knowing. She just took her mother's credit card and just left them, just like that, without any repercussions. Over here, if I have to move, even at this age, I have to move out of the house. I need to inform my parents before I do. But over there, I just realized like she was just 16 or 17 years old and she was already doing whatever she liked. But in the Dominican Republic, I just remember when she came back, she came to the Dominican Republic. Camino was like, if she was the one that did that, her auntie was just going to kill her, you know. So those are the differences, and also parenting. There in the States, Haida was very free. I mean, her mother wasn't so strict, so she just did whatever she liked. She didn't care about what her mother really thought. But Camino, on the other hand, her whatever it was, all her decisions, she had to first communicate with her auntie, and her auntie say was somehow what Camino had to agree to. It's like she didn't really have so much of a choice like Yahaira did. For the family aspect, I think it both works the same way, or in the Dominican Republic, family is really appreciated there more. And grief, which was like the major theme in this book, it was two girls grieving differently but at the same time. So we see how Yahaira was grieving when her dad died, and how Camino was also grieving when her dad died, and the secrets they both found out after their dad's passing. And just the grief was like a central theme, as I've said, and that brought about just everything, the climax and the conclusion, and how important family is. When eventually Yahaira's mom also came to the Dominican Republic, and apparently Yahaira's mom's friend was Camino's mom. So Camino's mom introduced Yahaira's mom to their dad, but at the end of the day, the man ended up with Camino's mom. So Camino was born first. I think just the man apart, they were born a month apart, was born before Yahaira, although he was married to Yahaira's mom. So she was like the first wife, and Camino's mom was the second wife. So he was married in the Dominican and he was married in the States. I don't know how that works because I know that's like bigger. That's how the whole thing turned out. And when they came to know that they had like Yahaira had a sister and Camino also had a sister, they just wanted to see each other, know each other, see how each of them looked like, and they looked alike. But I think they had like different skin tones. One was a bit lighter than the other, but they mirrored each other. I love this book. I love it so much, and this is the first time I've read a novel in verse. It was a great experience, and I highly recommend this book. I also gave this book a 5-star on Goodreads. This brings me to the end of today's wrap up, and I'm happy with how it went. And so if you watched up until this point, why don't you leave the open book emoji in the comment section so I know you've watched till this point. I'll catch you on another video, and remember, I love you like a nerd loves books. Bye.